I am excited to introduce everyone to Dr. Darren Moore, who's with us this evening, and his passion is that component of ministry that I think is at the heart and soul of the kingdom of God, families and marriages in particular. Why marriages and family? What burning bush experience set that trigger off for you?
Well, I think being an individual that comes from a single parent family, I have seen the stressors that have been placed on the family system. I've seen what can happen when the family system does have a breakdown, and how important family is at the end of the day, regardless of you know, how much money you make or the things that you have. Family is most important. And so as I thought about my career and my life passion and my purpose and the work that I feel like I'm called to do, it really was centered on how do I help families to remain intact.
What do you see in 2015 with all that we, by the grace of God, survived in 2014 and the years prior to that? What do you see as a pressing challenge or a pressing priority for marriages and families in the greater community?
Absolutely. I think a big part of it is a lack of communication within couples. And a lot of that is we're so busy. We're working, we're going to school, we're taking care of our children. It's so difficult for us sometimes to sit down and take a moment and say, how are you? And to communicate that I love you, that I care about you. I think sometimes we forget what really matters. And so that's one of the biggest things that that I see couples face now. The other thing is around intimacy and infidelity. And how do I help work with couples who are trying to overcome in that regard?
Is there something that should be done on the, I guess, the front end? Being a pastor who has officiated marriage ceremonies and counsel, premarital counseling, is there something in particular that should be done on the front end of couples coming together that is not being done, you perceive?
Absolutely. I think the first thing is, as you mentioned, is premarital counseling. So that's something that I also do as well. I think premarital counseling is a must, in that they understand what it is to be married. Because I think sometimes people put themselves into situations where they don't really have a clear idea about what it means to be married. And so they will get into a situation and then realize that what they signed up for is not what they were expecting.
Wow. In providing counseling support and direction, are you focused just on the husbands and the wives, or do you get into the entire family unit if children are involved? And do you yourself also counsel with the children? Oh,
absolutely. The way that I think about couples and families is it's really family-based. And so the first part is that when I impact one part of the system, the entire system changes. But the other aspect is when you're thinking about a married couple, they are essentially bringing their own families into union. So we're talking about one person who has a mother and a father and you know, that whole experience, and another person. So we're really talking about multiple families joining, if you think about it.
You know, and you remind me, if I can just inject, it reminds me of the old statement, or old question, the old saints used to say, now who are your people? You know, because they wanted to know. And you were just maybe going out on a first date, but they wanted to know who your date's family members were.
Absolutely.
And probably for that wisdom that they had, that families were coming together, not just two people coming together.
Absolutely.
What are the options that people have when they realize, other than divorce, what are the options that people have to work through discord, and getting back to a place of union and reconciling
and
whatever
differences?
Figure out
ways to communicate more effectively. So if that means going to see your pastor, go see your pastor. If that means coming to see me as a professional licensed marriage and family therapist, come see me. I think part of it is that, you know, we don't always like to admit that we're having a problem. And I think that sometimes, you know, whatever it's, you know, how people perceive us, we don't want to admit that we're having a problem. And if we just actually say, you know, I need a little help, I think that will do a lot for us. And it doesn't matter what you've gone through. Doesn't matter where you come from. It's more about where you're going. And so to me, I try to uplift people, I try to inspire people and try to educate them and to let them know that they can overcome any issue or any problem that may be set in their pathway.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful theology. How can folks who are going to try and find you, how can they find you?
If you're interested in learning more about me, you can find me on my website, which is www.drdarrendmoore.com. I'm also, of course, on social media, so Dr. Darren D. Moore in terms of Facebook, as well as Twitter and YouTube.